Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. Today we're going to be taking a look at standard Protoss openers versus two different kinds of races. What you're going to be doing with Protoss is you're going to be kind of hiding what you want to do in your opener, but your openers need to be very tight, just like with the Zerg video I just posted. Just spam your probe key so that you get probes out as soon as possible, and be sure to assign them to empty mineral patches so that you can get them working as soon as possible rather than drifting between. You're going to want to, on 9, more often than not, drop your first pylon. Your first pylon is going to be contingent on whether you're fighting Zerg or not, and if you are not fighting Zerg, go ahead and just drop it pretty close to your nexus and get out there and scout with that probe. Once you get back up to 50 minerals after your pylon, start another probe, putting you at 10, and then we're going to show you what to do after this. Keep putting probes into production because you know what you're going to want to do. And once that pylon finishes, put a chrono boost on your nexus to get your next few probes out as soon as you can. Now, these chrono boosts are going to make your probes produce a lot faster, but they're really going to boost your income, and you'd be surprised at the results. We're going to kind of stop right here for just a second. This opening I'm showing you is actually just the de facto standard Protoss opener versus non-Zerg. You're usually going to want to drop your gateway at 13, put your gas down at 14, another pylon up at 16 supply, which you can monitor up here. We're now at 12 supply. But there's a lot of room for variation in there, and your opinions are going to slightly change on this. You can obviously drop your gateway earlier and not chrono boost your nexus if you want to not stop making probes. But my goal here is to be balanced, not stop making probes, and get stuff up in the time that I need it. So go ahead and continue. We're going to not chrono boost again now that it has worn off, but as soon as we get 150 minerals, we're going to start our gateway, we're going to send this probe back to work, and again, we're not going to skip any gaps in probes. As soon as you have that second one in queue, chrono boost your nexus again in order to get more probes on the field, and then start your gas at around 14. Again, without missing probes if you can help it. I'm going to miss it by just a little bit because I'm not being as tight as I possibly could. And then your next building is going to be a pylon. Now, meanwhile, you're going to see your scout up in their base, and you're going to want to be active with the scout to see what they're doing. So you know how to react. Again, don't stop probes like I was just there as I'm talking and being distracted and whatnot. You can get your probes on gas as soon as possible, and as soon as your gateway is done, and as soon as you have 150 minerals, which should be right now, get your cybernetics core down. Starting off like this is going to aid you in a lot of ways, namely being hiding what your next step is going to be. And your chrono boosts from here on out can be either saved up, or they can be spent on more workers, or on units that you want to get out, so be wary of that. Start a zealot as soon as you can. Again, don't stop your probes for really any reason. Our probes are under attack, so we need to really get our scout out of there. So we'll run him home. And so after we've got our cybernetics core down, your first unit is usually going to be a zealot, and your next unit is going to be a stalker, and we'll explain why as soon as the time comes. Now, when your cybernetics core wraps up, start your warp gate research as soon as possible, and it's very typical to chrono boost that once. And your next is going to be a stalker coming out of your gateway, chrono boost that as well. And the reason that you have this unit combination is, one, to scout for anything weird going on in your base with your zealot. So just kind of run them around. Again, keep going on your probes. And your stalker's going to come out, and he's going to deny scouting of any workers that might be in your base. So if there are workers like running around, they're going to be able to see what you're doing, and if you let them live, they're going to see what your next stage is. Your stages are going to change after this point. Some people might throw down a robotics bay, or rather facility. Some people might throw down a bunch of extra gateways. So you can kind of hide what you're doing behind this only because the stalker comes out and kills the scout walking around in your base. One thing I neglected to mention is you can take this second gas whenever you feel like you're ready to. If your next building is going to be like a Stargate, or if you're going to plan on going for like any Templar play or any really high-tech stuff, take this gas soon, but you can also keep that hidden from your opponent too. So as soon as your base is clear is basically when you can feel free to go on to your next stage and keep going into your build. So we're going to go ahead and resume here into whatever we feel like doing. We are fully denying scouting here. You can see that I will be a little bit supply blocked as soon as this probe finishes, hence why I started that pylon then. And I'll just go ahead and start robotics, whatever. From this point, your build should kind of revolve around what you want to do in the remainder of the game versus your opponent. Your robotics is obviously going to provide things like Immortals or Colossus if you decide to go that route. Just make sure that you're spending your money effectively. You can see my money kind of piling up here. And you need to eventually learn what kind of units you can produce effectively off of the structures that you have up. And another thing is spend your chrono boost wisely. Spend it on things that you know are important at the time, and put out whatever units need to be put out at the time. Make sure you don't get supply blocked. But yeah, this is the standard de facto Protoss opener versus non-Zerg, and this robotics is obviously not part of the opener, but you can kind of see where I'm going with that. So we'll go ahead and we'll continue on to the next part of the video, which is Protoss openers against Zerg, and mainly focusing around your wall. So we'll jump right into that. Okay, welcome back. We'll take a look at the versus Zerg build, or rather opener for Protoss. It's very standard, just to keep us in line with the videos that have been going on before. One thing you might notice is that I usually do start a probe before I send my workers out. It's just a quick click, queue, select, and send them to the mineral line. This is just so I can get my probes working as soon as possible and get them out of my nexus as soon as possible. And your openers do need to be pretty tight, just in order to assure that you're getting as much as you possibly can out of this stage of the game when there's nothing to focus on other than what you are doing at your own base. So this is going to be a little different. What we're going to do is we're going to pull a worker at about 60 to 70 minerals. He should arrive at our ramp just about then, and you want your power field to power all the way to that ramp. Send your probe out to scout. As soon as you get 50 minerals, start another probe. Now this pylon is going to power your wall. And you're going to be walling off here just to prevent any like Zerglings or whatever running into your base that you don't want to be in there. So if you let Zerglings in here and they try to fight probes, you're going to lose a lot of probes unnecessarily. You might as well stop it at the front door if you can. Again, I'm going to chrono boost my nexus. I'll usually put my gateway down on 13, so I'll go ahead and queue up probes up until 13. This is my 12th probe. This is my 13th. And you're going to want to try to pull your probe at as good a time as possible to make sure that he's not losing any time by just standing around once he gets there. And we're going to go ahead and start that, send him back, and chrono boost our nexus again, which is very normal, and take our gas as soon as we're ready to. We'll go ahead and take it now. And then what we're going to watch out for here is, number one, is don't let this pylon die. Some people will send in their drone and bug it. I'm just checking around with my scout here a little bit. I'll just send them on a patrol pattern. Don't let that pylon die because it's powering your wall, and if that goes down, that's essentially everything you've invested into is gone. So I like to drop a second pylon on my wall. You can do whatever you'd like. It's up to you. But we're going to want to time this just like we did before with the other standard Protoss opener, and that is to get our cybernetics core as soon as the gateway finishes. So you can see I'm pulling my worker just a little bit in advance. I'm going to start another probe, and there we go. Okay, so this looks similar to the other opener, but this is against Zerg, and this is if you're going to be walling. You will want to get a Zealot out as soon as you can, and start as soon as you have that 100 minerals without skipping probes. Don't skip probes for really any reason unless you know exactly why you're doing it. And we're going to place this Zealot right here. And as soon as he comes out, you can chrono boost it if you really feel like you need to, but you usually don't have to. I'll go ahead and drop another pylon here. And again, when your Cybernetics core finishes, start your warp gate. A lot of people do like to chrono boost it. Okay, when this Zealot comes out, we're going to have him run to his starting position, which is right there. You're going to put him on hold position and make sure he's in the middle of this area as much as you can. Now what this is going to do is if any Zerglings try to run up here, yeah, they can hit your buildings, but that's a ton of time, and you'll usually have started another unit out of your gateway if that's going to be happening. But Zerglings will not be able to just run by here. This is going to plug up a hole that you left in your wall intentionally, so you're going to leave one space there when you drop your Cybernetics core so that Zerglings can't just run in and destroy your stuff, but also so that your own units can still get out. By your own units, I mean basically everything except for Archons. Archons are the only ones that cannot fit through this little hole. So you're essentially walling, but you're not full walling, making it so that you can't escape yourself. So that's the basic opener for against Zerg. There's really not many other openers that you're going to see out of standard Protoss play. I will do videos in the future of some like cheesy builds or unusual stuff that you might see. But this is the most efficient, best way to set you up for the next stage of the game. And if you put out like a Stalker out of this gateway, or a sentry or something, you can go around and clean up any overlords that might be scouting. They shouldn't be here by now because it's still pretty early and it takes a while for them to float across the map, or any drones that might get in your base, so that you can put down your next stage of tech without them seeing it. And that can be, again, just be gateways or robotics bay, or robotics facility. I'm sorry, I call it robotics bay because of StarCraft 1, or a Stargate or whatever behind this without them scouting it. And the other issue is that you want to put it far enough away from your wall. I'll show you an example. If you head back up here, again, keep going on the probes. If you place your next stage of tech like right here, that's good, because if a Zergling comes up here and runs up against this wall, he's going to try to scout in and see what you have. But if you hide it all back here with some good pylon placement or good thinking in advance, he's not going to be able to scout it until he gets an overlord in. And you can always just create a stalker and have him patrol around this area in order to deflect any scouting coming in if you really want to hide what you're doing. So yeah, that's a standard opener for Protoss against Zerg. So you're going to likely run with this as much as you can. And again, get used to what kind of production you can maintain off of your buildings that you have up. Don't ever stop probes like you'll see me doing here because I'm getting distracted from talking. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is a safe way to play against Zerg, standard way. Keep on the lookout. I will do Terran standard openers next, so stay tuned for that. See you later.